In a twisted game of kidnapper's choice, my parents chose my sister, leaving me to be mercilessly executed. When I opened my eyes again, I'd been reborn into the body of a stranger, a girl with a paralyzed grandmother, a disabled mother, and a life of crushing poverty that somehow radiated the warmth I'd always craved. One day, a disheveled woman accosted me, her eyes wild as she demanded, "Have you seen my daughter?" I stared at the face that had once been polished to aristocratic perfection, now eroded by years of grief. "No," I answered calmly. Her daughter had died in kidnappers' hands 5 years ago. By her own mother's choice. The memory surged back, the damp warehouse reeking of mildew. Rough ropes biting into my wrists. The sour taste of burlap gagging me. Behind us, the kidnapper tore into greasy meat, his laughter echoing as he addressed the camera. "James, which precious daughter will you sacrifice today?" On the screen, my parents, once the picture of poised elegance, had aged decades overnight. "Please." Helen's voice cracked through the speakers. "We'll give you anything. Just don't hurt them." A bottle shattered behind us. I threw myself over Lily as glass shards sliced my cheek. "Begging now, James?" The kidnapper sneered. "Where was your mercy when my company collapsed? Money won't save them. I want your bloodline extinguished. 3 minutes, keep the heir or the spare." The countdown began. Lily trembled against me, hot tears soaking through my shirt. I'd barely registered the ticking when Helen's scream pierced the static, "Save the younger one." They'd chosen Lily. Again. The kidnapper ripped the gag from my mouth. "Last words, kid?" My throat locked as the timer blared. 20 seconds. 10. When the blade opened my carotid, I watched my blood arc across concrete with detached fascination, a dying firework sputtering into darkness. In the void between death and rebirth, memories flickered. I'd grown up believing I had 2 mothers, the elegant woman in designer suits who video called weekly, and the artist who smelled of oil paints and jasmine tea. At 3 years old, when the Wilson family fortunes collapsed, they'd handed me to Sophia, the aunt who became my anchor through childhood nightmares. Her studio apartment with its perpetually steaming coffee pot and sunlit easel became my sanctuary. She'd rock me through midnight terrors, humming lullabies until dawn tinted the sky. The screen flickers again in my new life, showing Helen's ravaged face. Her manicured nails dig into James' arm as they stare at the ransom feed, unaware that the daughter they sacrificed now inhabits a stranger's body. Watching their grief from the shadows. Aunt Sophia was different from Mom Helen. She was always smiling, loved wearing makeup, and enjoyed dressing me up. Her favorite thing was buying me pretty dresses and braiding my hair into intricate styles before taking me out for cake. "Little girls should grow up feeling beautiful," she'd say. One night when I had a high fever and cried for Mom in my delirium, I found myself cradled in a soft, fragrant embrace as someone gently patted my back until I fell asleep. I woke to see Sophia lying beside me with dark circles under her eyes. Still groggy, I hugged her and called her Mom. After a long pause, she explained softly, "You should call me Auntie. The one who calls you every week is your real mom." I didn't understand. All my friends' moms acted like Sophia, tucking kids in at night, playing with them, making them look nice. But my phone call mom never visited, never took me anywhere. Sometimes even forgot to call. When I begged Sophia to switch roles with her, she hesitated before relenting. "You can call me Mom when we're alone." From then on, Sophia became the mom who waited outside school rain or shine, smiling as we walked home hand in hand. I swelled with pride when classmates complimented my pretty mom. This lasted until my 7th birthday, when Sophia told me brightly, "Your mom had a baby sister. They'll bring you home soon." She stood at the sink washing vegetables, her voice cheerful yet turned away from me. That night I pushed my rice around, whispering, "What if I eat less? Could I stay?" I didn't need fancy things, just Sophia. She held me wordlessly, tears dampening my hair. For weeks I barely slept until overhearing a phone call. "The baby needs full attention. Could you keep Emily longer?" Relief flooded me. Sophia never said it. But her extra dinner dishes sang with quiet joy. I forgot borrowed time ticks fastest. At 10, I skipped home calling Mom. I'm back. 2 voices answered. The woman from phone calls stood stiffly beside Sophia. Must have meant Auntie. Sophia laughed nervously during the strained dinner. When they tried to leave with me, I clung to Sophia screaming. Her eyes glistened as she pried my hands loose. Emily just needs adjustment. She told Mom Helen. She loves your gifts, dreams about you often. Drive safe. From the car's rear window, I watched Sophia shrink to nothingness. Mom Helen chattered about princess bedrooms and new dresses. But I silently counted telephone poles until her voice faded. I understood they loved me. Sophia had explained how they'd spared me childhood hardships. But why rip away 7 years of sunlit braiding and bedtime stories? Why now? The rearview mirror swallowed Sophia's silhouette whole. Rain streaked the glass like braids unraveling. After a long car ride, Helen brought me to a beautiful house with a quaint garden, a swing set, and lights everywhere. It was much bigger and brighter than Sophia's home where I'd lived with her. This is your new home, she said. I trailed behind her, stiff and uneasy, until Lily came running out and threw herself into Helen's arms. Mommy, she chirped in that sugar-coated baby voice. I watched Helen's sharp features soften as she knelt to ask about the girls' day, listening intently to her nonsensical chatter. It reminded me of how Sophia would hold my hand walking home from kindergarten, patiently answering my endless stream of chatter about ladybugs and snack time. When Lily pointed at me asking who's that, Helen finally remembered I existed. Lily, this is your sister, she said, nudging the round-cheeked child toward me. Lily studied me for 3 heartbeats before grabbing my hand. Come, I'll show you the cookie jar. Her steps wobbled as she pulled me inside, Helen hovering behind with protective hands ready to catch her. That night, I burrowed into unfamiliar sheets that smelled like lavender fabric softener. Helen came in offering to stay until I fell asleep. But when Lily's wails pierced through the door, Mommy. Story time. I told her to go. The relieved smile Helen gave me stung worse than the rejection. I tried calling Sophia later. The endless busy signal mocked me as muffled laughter drifted through the walls, Helen making silly voices for Lily's bedtime story. When James returned from his business trip, he brought 2 dresses. Lily's fit perfectly while mine squeezed my ribs, the garish pink clashing with my olive skin. We'll exchange it, he apologized. But I just shrugged. Of course he'd know Lily's exact size and favorite color. He'd witnessed every inch of her growth, while I'd been reduced to pixelated FaceTime squares. At the family celebration dinner, a fairy-lit restaurant Lily clearly knew well, Helen reminded servers about Lily's strawberry allergy while ordering me shrimp cocktail. The hives that erupted later that night didn't surprise me. Sophia would have never forgotten my shellfish intolerance. Just like she'd never forget to ask for no cilantro in my tacos. My new life unfolded with private school brochures and chauffeurs. Yet every good night felt like a transaction. Lily would drape herself over James' lap during movie nights, braiding Helen's hair without permission, while I sat ramrod straight on the adjacent couch. When she threw tantrums, scattering toys like shrapnel, I'd count the chandelier crystals until the storm passed. The calls to Sophia stopped connecting altogether. James mentioned she'd traveled indefinitely, a flimsy lie even Lily could have seen through. I stopped asking after finding the contact number grayed out in my phone. They'd taken her from me, just like they'd abandoned me to her care years ago. Sometimes I catch Helen watching me during these strained family dinners, her eyes flickering with something that might have been remorse. But when Lily spills juice on her new dress, that fragile moment shatters, Helen's attention snapping to her golden child with practiced urgency. I push down the bitter thought, she's only ever looked at me like I'm a problem to solve. Never like I'm hers to cherish. I was always quiet, rarely speaking much. Most of the time, Mom and Dad only asked about my grades, whether my allowance was sufficient, or if I needed anything, their tone carrying the polite concern reserved for houseguests. Truthfully, it didn't bother me much. All relationships require time to deepen. And we'd shared so little of it. Yet sometimes, that hollow ache would surface. Perhaps humans instinctively yearn for blood ties. Thankfully, my sister Lily radiated sunshine. She'd bounce around chattering Emily, Emily, and insisted on riding along when the driver picked me up from school. Sometimes I'd sneak her to street food stalls, where she'd announce at every vendor, "No seafood. My sister Emily's allergic." Never mind that $3 snacks contained no trace of crab, she simply remembered. Lily became the stitching that held our family's frayed edges together. Her mischief masking the awkward seams. Everything shattered when she vanished at 14. That New Year's Eve. Our parents had promised fireworks by the river. Lily spent all day vibrating with excitement until the call came, another last-minute business emergency. When her hunger strike began, I suggested the chauffeur take us to the nearby park ourselves. How were we to know human traffickers prowled gated communities? The bodyguard stepped away to take a call. Darkness swallowed us. Waking in the truck's stifling cargo hold, I counted 8 other children. Lily trembled against me, all wide eyes and silent tears. My own terror crystallized into resolve. Our best hope was the bruised boy near the door. Maybe 15. Distract them when I signal, I whispered through split lips. Chaos erupted when I screamed about stomach pains. As the guard opened the hatch, I flung my jacket over his head while children scattered like startled sparrows. Fists rained down as I curled around Lily. "Police are coming," I croaked into her hair, tasting blood. Through swollen eyelids, I watched the boy slip beneath the truck. They nearly beat me to death before abandoning my corpse on the roadside. The boy carried me 2 miles before police floodlights found us. Mom's wails pierced my hospital delirium. 4 months. Monitors beeped around my bandaged ribs while investigators traced dead ends. The traffickers had switched vehicles 4 times. Lily disappeared into the void. Dad drowned himself in overseas contracts. Mom's wine collection grew alongside her collection of shattered photo frames. The night she smashed her 3rd vodka bottle, shards glittered like accusation. "This is your fault," she screamed, breath sour with grief. "Why did you take her out that night?" The monitors flatlined twice during my 3rd surgery. Part of me wishes they hadn't restarted my heart. She sobbed hysterically, demanding why I wasn't the one who got kidnapped instead. She accused me of jealousy, of deliberately letting Lily get abducted, questioning how I managed to escape unscathed. I had no answers, silently enduring her wrath. The next morning, sobered up, Mom tearfully apologized, dismissing it as drunken ramblings. But how could I forget? The raw hatred in her eyes felt painfully real. "Mom, if only you knew, I'd trade places with Lily in a heartbeat." An invisible barrier always separated me from our family, while Lily embraced me wholeheartedly. She'd save me the best snacks, remember my seafood allergy when even our parents forgot, and crawl into my bed after nightmares. "You're the best sister," she'd murmur, clinging to me. Yet I failed to protect her. If only I'd been taken instead. Maybe our parents wouldn't wear that permanent grief etched on their faces. The search never stopped. Mom and Dad would fly across the country chasing flimsy leads, returning empty-handed every time. I'd find them weeping in Lily's untouched room, tenderly tracing her photos in frames. My straight A's, competition trophies, and perfect report cards meant nothing to them. I kept achieving, not for praise, but hoping to ease their burden somehow. When Dan transferred to our high school, I recognized him instantly, the bruised boy from that fateful night. Now popular with his striking features, he ignored everyone but me. Soon he moved into our neighborhood's gated community, becoming my unexpected ally. On my 15th New Year's Eve, with my parents chasing another false lead in coastal city, Dan invited me to his mansion. Over a homemade feast and wine, he revealed his own tragedy, a mother lost to betrayal. His kidnapping orchestrated by his stepmother's greed. "They wouldn't have searched for me like your family does for Lily," he said flatly. Years of quiet suffering behind those words. As midnight approached while watching tedious holiday specials, Dan asked for my wish. To find Lily. I whispered. His hand brushed mine. It'll happen. Then softly. Emily. None of this is your fault. You did everything possible. Tears spilled over. At 3. Stifling cries for Mom at Aunt Sophia's house, I tried. At 10. Adapting to estranged parents, I tried. At 14. Shielding Lily from blows during escape attempts, I tried. Now maintaining perfect grades through sleepless guilt, still trying. Every effort ending in ashes. 3 years later, when the trafficking ring got dismantled, they found Lily in a remote mountain village. My parents rushed to the hospital where their golden child lay broken. The bubbly girl replaced by a hollow-eyed stranger who recoiled from touch. As Mom wept over Lily's scarred hands, I stood forgotten in the doorway, still the shadow daughter. Still trying. She had no idea what she'd been through. Reduced to skin and bones. Not only had she forgotten everything from the past, our memories together, but she'd grown withdrawn and childlike. One ear permanently damaged. Mom and Dad took her for full medical evaluations. The doctors said her mental state resulted from severe trauma that might improve with time. But the hearing loss would require lifelong aids. Still, we were grateful Lily had come back alive. The shadows lifted from my parents' faces as they threw themselves into her recovery. That first month, Lily often woke screaming. She'd curl up in closets clutching her head. Sobbing, "Stop hitting me. And Emily. It hurts. Save me." Every moment during her captivity, she'd waited for her big sister to rescue her. When our parents worked late, I'd been her safe harbor. Yet I'd also been the reason she got taken. I stood frozen while Mom rocked her on the floor. Both weeping. When Mom's tear-filled eyes met mine, they asked the question choking us all, "She trusted you. How could you fail her?" I fled to my room, choking on self-loathing. Headlights striped my window after midnight, Dan's flashlight signal. Our secret code. The text glowed, "Sleep. Croissant sandwiches tomorrow." 2 outsiders keeping each other afloat. Lily's progress came in flickers. Some days she recognized Mom. Others she hid from everyone. She'd bolt outside murmuring, "Go home." We hired round-the-clock caregivers. Mom quit her corporate position, devoting herself to therapeutic baking sessions and bedtime stories, rebuilding Lily's childhood. Their laughter over frosting cupcakes left me lingering in doorways. Mom's exhaustion couldn't dim that revived sparkle. The light that died when Lily disappeared. Now miraculously rekindled. I should have been glad. So why the bitter ache? The nightmare came weeks later. Lily tore into my bed. Trembling. "Emily. I'm scared." I didn't miss Mom's flinch. She kept vigil on the couch all night. Maybe remembering her drunken accusation, "Were you jealous? Did you let them take her? Did she think I'd abandon Lily again?" I started coming home after dark when Lily slept. Dan matched my aimless jogs around the track. Our sneakers slapping asphalt as he listed next day's breakfasts, tacos, pancakes, avocado toast, stitching normalcy from air. By spring semester, Mom said Lily needed quieter surroundings. "We're moving to Southcrest for her final treatments. You should focus on college applications." We both knew the truth. My presence unsettled Lily's recovery. Even amnesiac. She gravitated to me. Their solution, remove the variable. I'd accepted being the discarded option when Aunt Sophia reappeared after 8 years. Her designer luggage spilled gifts from Marrakesh to Kyoto. "My brilliant nieces," she exclaimed, cupping my face, as Lily and I unwrapped silk scarves. The adults withdrew to the study. Their muffled voices carried an unfamiliar urgency. I heard them arguing. "Is this how you act as parents? Lily may be pitiful, but isn't Emily your daughter too? How could you move to South City as a family of 3 and leave Emily alone here? I don't care if you distrust me, but Emily's your own flesh and blood. How could she possibly harm Lily? If you won't take responsibility for her, then don't stop me from doing it." I looked down at the teddy bear in my hands when suddenly cold fingers touched my cheek. "Why are you crying? Sis? Does it hurt? Lily will blow on it. The pain will go away." I reached up to find my face wet. I hadn't meant to cry. What was there to cry about? I was grown now, I could feed myself when hungry. Add layers when cold. Even with our parents gone to South City, I'd manage fine. But I'd forgotten hearts remain flesh. Seeing myself perpetually left behind still carved fresh wounds. Aunt Sophia argued with our parents in the study for hours that day, leaving red-eyed. Yet James and Helen still took Lily to South City the next morning. The outcome didn't surprise me. For 6 months after they left, they never visited. Occasionally I'd see Mom's social media posts, family swim days, amusement park trips, matching outfits I'd never worn. Lily looked healthier in those photos. I'd cry silently under my blankets, knowing I shouldn't compare but unable to stop the envy. Our parents never made time for parent-teacher conferences. Always too busy for my milestones. Yet they had infinite patience for Lily. They say comparison steals joy. But how else could I measure where I stood? Wasn't I their child too? Sometimes I wondered if I'd been the one kidnapped. Would they have searched for me so desperately? Would they have rebuilt childhood memories with me? I told myself yes. But deep down, I didn't know. During senior year, I studied obsessively. When college applications came, I chose schools far away, rarely returning for holidays citing travel hassles. Our parents never protested. Dan always stayed with me. My presence at home mattered little to them. And I'd made peace with that. Some bonds aren't meant to be, though born Wilsons. Our ties were tenuous. Better to wish each other well from afar. I accepted this quiet distance until fate decided to toy with us. That freshman year winter break, Lily and I got kidnapped. The kidnapper, a business rival of our parents, demanded no ransom. Only forced them to choose between us. Lily wept hysterically while I stayed calm. I knew the decision before it came. Of course I'd protect Lily. I'd sworn to keep her safe. Watching our parents' anguished faces on the monitor, I felt perverse relief. For once, their tears might include some shred of concern for me. They didn't wait the full 3 minutes. Mom chose Lily instantly, terrified of her being hurt again. I thought I'd remain composed. But hearing their verdict shattered me. This wasn't theoretical rejection, this was marrow-deep confirmation. Accepting your unimportance shouldn't hurt this much. To them, I was discardable without second thought. Then why have me? Why take me from Aunt Sophia's care? Mom, am I not your child too? Couldn't you spare 1 second's hesitation for me? The questions died unspoken as cold steel slit my throat. Mom's scream followed me into darkness. Tears blurred my vision as I lay on the cold concrete. Warm blood pooling around my cheeks. Mom, will you finally be proud? I protected Lily this time. Will there be even a moment when you mourn for me? I don't blame you. But being your daughter, it exhausted me. You brought me into this world. And now you've chosen to end it. Poetic symmetry. Isn't it? Let's never meet again in another life. My eyelids grew heavy as Lily's muffled screams pierced through the ringing in my ears. She writhed against her restraints, inching toward me with raw desperation. I tried to speak but only coughed up metallic warmth. My lips formed silent words, grow strong. Lily. Darkness swallowed me whole. Death wasn't heaven or hell but endless gray mist. A faint glow taunted me from the void. I ran until the ground vanished beneath me, plunging into blackness. Shoo. Sweetheart. A familiar voice cut through the fog. Cool fingers brushed sweat from my brow. Take your medicine. Grace. My throat burned. Mom, you didn't want me? The words scraped like sandpaper. Delirious from fever. The silhouette toothed. But I clutched her sleeve with trembling fingers. Tears soaked the pillowcase as she sighed and gathered me into arms that smelled of lavender detergent. Her heartbeat thrummed against my cheek, this alien tenderness I'd craved my entire existence. Why now? Why never before? The nightmare returned as I drifted to that damp warehouse. Duct tape chafing my wrists. Mom's cold voice negotiating with kidnappers, take Emily instead. My Lily's asthmatic. In the dream's haze, a girl materialized, waterlogged and translucent. Please, she whispered. Care for my mother and grandmother. Before I could respond, Grace's memories flooded my consciousness, piano recitals, hospital shifts, that fatal dive into riptides to save a drowning tourist. I awoke gasping, fingers flying to my unmarred throat. 7 days since I'd become Grace. Yet phantom knife wounds still haunted my sleep. The digital clock glowed 3:17 a.m. Down the hall, Helen snored lightly in her nursing scrubs, unaware her daughter's body housed a dead girl's spirit. Moonlight pooled on the unfamiliar dorm room walls as I traced the unfamiliar contours of this new face in my phone screen. The reflection whispered reminders: breathe, blink, pretend. My nails dug into palms, no longer Emily's bitten cuticles but Grace's manicured shells. I opened the encrypted file I'd created since waking in this body, Wilson Family Dynamics. Last seen CCTV footage. Kidnapping timeline. My fingers hovered over James' corporate headshot. Dad's smile never reached his eyes. Even before the ransom call. A notification flashed: Lily's Instagram update. My replacement twirled in her Stanford acceptance letter photo shoot. Mom's arm draped possessively around her shoulders. The caption glittered with emojis: grateful for my ride or die red heart #family first. The bathroom tiles chilled my bare feet as I vomited up bile and memories. Grace's toothbrush glared neon pink from the cup. Her floral shampoo clogged the drain. Her life pressed against mine like shrink wrap. At dawn, I dressed in Grace's scrubs and walked to the hospital where Helen worked. Through the nursery window, newborns squirmed in plastic bassinets. Their cries mingled with the beep of monitors. A resident frowned at my visitor badge. Grace? You're off today. I know. I pressed palms against the observation glass. Just needed to remember what fighting looks like. Somewhere beyond these walls. My killers walked free. Somewhere in a mansion. My family erased me. But in this stolen body, with Grace's strong swimmer's lungs and Helen's hesitant hugs, I'd become the ghost they couldn't silence. The sunrise bled crimson through the parking garage as I texted an unknown number: meet me tonight. Bring the police files. Dan's response came swift: you're playing with fire, Miss Brown. I smiled for the first time in 7 days. Let it burn. The gap between Grace and me spans 5 years. The details of the kidnapping and murder feel like they happened mere moments ago. Yet it's already been half a decade since my death. Sitting motionless on the bed, I steady my breathing before heading to wash up. My recent drowning incident caused days of high fever, resulting in a week-long absence from school. Today marks my return. Grandma, I'm leaving for school. I call out while shouldering my backpack. Grace. Wait. Grandma motions me behind the faded curtain separating our living room from her bed. Our cramped apartment only has one proper bedroom, mine. Helen and Grandma sleep on foldable cots behind this floral-patterned divider. Our 3-person household survives on income from the dumpling stall, Helen with her limp, Grandma bedridden with chronic illness, and me, a high school senior. She presses 2 warm-boiled eggs and a crumpled $20 bill into my palm, adjusting my uniform collar. Bundle up now that you're recovering. Don't catch another chill. Her knobby fingers brush my cheek. Eat proper lunches, get meat dishes for energy during senior year. The autumn wind bites through my thin jacket as I walk. Eggs radiating comforting warmth through my pockets. Though the Browns live humbly, they've always prioritized Grace's needs: extra lunch money since junior year, pocket change for snacks. Grace reciprocated their sacrifices, saving her allowances to buy them woolen socks and vitamin supplements. This tender interdependence creates the simple happiness I desperately craved but never attained in my previous life. Flipping through Grace's textbooks during homeroom, I note minimal curriculum changes over 5 years. Having graduated mere months ago in my original timeline, core concepts remain fresh. With disciplined studying, getting into a top university seems achievable. After school, I stop at the used bookstore before heading to the night market. Helen's dumpling stall sits between a bubble tea vendor and neon-lit phone accessory booth. Steam rises from her boiling pot as she deftly folds pork-filled wrappers, her slender frame haloed by hanging bulb lights. Mom, I'm here. Helen's face brightens when she sees me. Sit. Sit. I saved your favorite chive dumplings. While I wipe down plastic tables. She ladles steaming broth into a chipped bowl. Only 5 portions remain in the cooler. The dumplings' peppery broth chases away the evening chill. I savor each bite. Throat tightening at Helen's proud smile when I drain the last drop. Good appetite means you're healing well. She declares. Packing unsold inventory. Grandma's already asleep when we return. I tackle calculus problems at the wobbly desk until soft knocking interrupts. Helen enters with an basin of mugwort-infused water. Worry lines etching her forehead. Grandma says you've had nightmares all week. She flicks aromatic droplets around my bed frame before tracing a damp cross on my forehead. We'll visit the temple this weekend to calm your spirit. Saturday dawns with mist clinging to cedar forests. We board the early bus to Mount Serenity's base. Though the ancient temple requires climbing 888 stone steps, pilgrims still flock here seeking miracles. Helen's bad leg slows our ascent, but she grips my arm with determined cheer. This bodhisattva answers prayers, will beg protection from nightmares and blessings for your college entrance exams. Chanting reverberates through pine trees as we near the Vermilion Gates. A novice monk intercepts us at the entrance. The main hall's occupied by donors hosting memorial rites. He apologizes, guiding us to a side chapel. Incense smoke curls around golden statues as we kneel on worn prayer cushions. Helen presses 3 joss sticks into my hands. Her whispered wishes blending with temple bells. We paid our respects to the Buddha and donated some money for the incense. Just as we were about to leave, Helen was called by the abbot to have a talk. He said it was a fateful encounter today and wanted to give her a fortune-telling stick. I didn't need to go and just waited in the yard. There was a Chinese parasol tree in the yard, with lush branches and leaves and a thick trunk. It seemed to have been there for quite some time. There were red ropes hanging on several branches. I walked a bit closer. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew by. The leaves rustled in the wind. Amid the continuous chanting of Buddhist scriptures, I seemed to hear the clear sound of wind chimes. I wanted to listen more carefully, but someone tugged at me. What came into view was a face I knew all too well. She looked much older than 5 years ago. Gone was her former elegance, only weariness was left on her face. And even her hair was a bit messy. She grabbed me, her eyes a bit unfocused. But her tone was earnest. Have you seen my daughter? In that instant, time and thoughts were pulled far away. The past 19 years flashed before my eyes like a passing cloud, emerging and then disappearing. I looked at her. In a daze, I heard the sound of the wind chimes again, which cleansed my mind one by one. The Chinese parasol tree leaves fluttered down, and my mind became clearer. I gently pushed her hand away and calmly shook my head, no. As soon as the words left my mouth, she suddenly slumped to the ground as if all her strength had left her. The whole person seemed to collapse. Has anyone seen my daughter? She covered her face and sobbed loudly. I stood still on the spot, watching the red ropes fluttering among the yellowish Chinese parasol leaves. But my heart remained calm. Her daughter wasn't here. Her daughter had died in the hands of kidnappers 5 years ago. It was her own choice. The chanting of scriptures continued. Standing under the tree, I suddenly realized that today's memorial service was held for me. Was it to hope that I wouldn't hold grudges or to pray for a good afterlife for me? I didn't know. Could a person's soul really be purified? I also didn't know. I only knew that when a person died, everything was gone. Just like the weak blood-related affection, which had dissipated with Emily's life. From then on, there would be no more hatred or love, and no more ties. I withdrew my gaze and turned to leave the yard. When Helen found me, I was squatting at the temple gate, memorizing words. Her eyes were shining, and she held a small yellow triangular packet embroidered with red silk thread in her hand. The abbot said that wearing this amulet will bring good luck in everything from now on. Helen carefully put the triangular packet into my pocket, looking as if she had accomplished a great task, with a light expression on her face. Let's go home. We won't set up the stall today. We'll fast for a day. When going down the mountain, I glanced in the direction of the main hall. There were 2 people standing at the door. One was the abbot in a cassock, and the other was a young man. He was tall and slender, wearing a well-ironed and elegant black suit, with a string of Buddhist beads on his left wrist. From my angle, I could only see his profile. He was bowing his head, listening to the abbot. I had never seen him before, but I felt an indescribable sense of familiarity. I wanted to take a closer look, but he quickly walked back into the hall. Maybe the temple was really effective. Or maybe the amulet Helen gave me could really bring peace to the heart. Or maybe the memorial service held by the Wilson family had worked. After I got back that day, I really didn't have any more nightmares. The scene of the day when I was kidnapped and killed seemed to have become a distant and unclear memory in my dream. And I had truly become Grace Brown. I got up on time every day. When Helen went out early to buy groceries, I made breakfast for Grandma. At school, like every other senior high school student, I buried myself in doing exercises. After evening self-study, I would go to pick up Helen and then go home to continue studying and doing homework. Every late-night study session, Helen would always heat a cup of milk for me in time and fill 2 hot water bags. One for my feet and the other for me to hold in my arms. Helen didn't have a high level of education and couldn't understand the mathematical symbols I wrote on the paper. But sometimes she would sit beside my bed for a while and watch me write and do problems. She asked me, "Is senior year really tough?" I held a pen in my right hand and covered the hot water bag with my left hand. "It's a bit tough. But I'll work hard. Mom, I'll get into a key university. I'll make you and Grandma live a good life." Helen's eyes were gentle. She urged me to drink the milk while it was hot and then smiled with relief. "As long as our family stays together safely, every day is a good day. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just do your best and have a clear conscience." At that time, listening to Helen's gentle words, I only felt a sense of peace and comfort in my heart. Whenever I encountered difficulties later, I would always remember Helen's expression and tone that day. I suddenly realized that actually, everyone would encounter many insoluble problems in their lives. And it turned out that the understanding and support of family members could really give a person a sense of confidence and peace, allowing them to face the future calmly. Days passed in this ordinary way. One morning, a week later, I was lowering my head, organizing my notes. The class teacher led someone in from the door. "Everyone, stop for a moment. Let's welcome our new classmate, Lily Wilson." The pen in my hand suddenly stopped on the paper, smudging a small ink spot. I looked up at the podium. Reunions with the Wilson family always seemed so sudden. I never thought I would see my sister again under such circumstances. She had grown taller. Her once innocent face had become more mature and delicate. There was no more timidity in her eyes. Instead, there was a bit of coldness. At this moment, the past 5 years became tangible before my eyes. I suddenly realized that while everyone else had moved forward, I alone remained frozen in time. Since I was the class representative, the teacher seated Lily at the empty desk beside mine, specifically instructing me to look after the new student. Lily sat down with a faint breeze carrying the delicate scent of jasmine, the same fragrance from the body wash I'd once loved but she'd always disliked. 5 years wasn't particularly long, yet it was enough to completely transform someone's preferences and temperament. Neither of us were the people we used to be. As a transfer student without textbooks, I slid my physics book to the center of our desks. "We can share." Lily glanced sideways, her expression icy and detached. She shoved the book back unceremoniously before burying her face in her arms. I studied her hunched shoulders but said nothing, retrieving my materials to focus on the lecture. During break, I overheard hushed conversations in the restroom about Lily's notorious transfer. "Stay away from that psycho," someone whispered. "My cousin said she bashed someone's skull open at her last school. Rich parents covered it up." "Really? She looks fragile with that hearing aid. They say she witnessed her sister's kidnapping years ago. Probably snapped since." I slammed the stall door open. The sudden silence broke into nervous giggles. "Shit. Let's go." Alone at the sinks, I studied Grace's reflection, clear-eyed and unremarkable. bearing no resemblance to Emily. Back in class, Lily remained motionless by the window until evening dismissal. "Aren't you going home?" I finally asked while packing my bag. She didn't twitch. Moonlight dappled the empty campus as I left, strangely comforted. The kidnapping had been random misfortune, I held no grudges. Though 5 years had reshaped her profoundly, I had no desire to excavate her past or intertwine with her future. Emily's chapter was closed, I intended to live fully as Grace now. For 3 days, Lily arrived early yet remained silent. The stalemate broke during physics class when the teacher had me demonstrate a problem. Returning to my seat, I found Lily scrutinizing my workbook, covered in the same annotation symbols Emily used to mark related concepts. "What do these mean?" she asked quietly. "Online study method." I retrieved the book. "Want the link?" Lily traced a margin note. "Your handwriting, it's like my sister's." "You have a sister?" "Not anymore." She turned toward the breeze, removing her hearing aid before I could respond. My deskmate Jessica passed a frantic note during lecture. "Stop talking to her. She's unstable." Her scribble continued, "Remember the huge kidnapping case? Her sister was the victim. She freaks out if anyone mentions it." At lunch, Jessica dragged me to a secluded corner. "You seriously don't know?" Her eyes gleamed with gossip. "The Wilsons paid millions in hush money after the kidnapping. They say Lily's mom went crazy and..." A lunch tray slammed onto our table. Lily stood over us, jasmine scent cutting through cafeteria smells. Her knuckles whitened around the tray's edge. "Enjoying the show?" she asked softly. "Why not charge admission next time?" Jessica fled. Lily slid into the vacant seat, picking at her food with surgical precision. "Curious about Emily?" Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Go ahead. Ask." The air thickened. I pushed my chocolate milk toward her, Emily's old comfort. Lily froze. For a heartbeat, her mask slipped to reveal bewildered grief. Then she stood abruptly, chair screeching. "Stop pretending to be kind." Her whisper trembled. "You're not her." I watched her retreat, the untouched milk carton sweating condensation. Maybe Jessica was right. Maybe I should keep my distance. Yet when Lily's choked sob echoed from the restroom later, I found myself handing her tissues under the stall door, just like Emily would have done. "Go away." A fist pounded the metal partition. "I will," I said quietly. "But the tissues stay." Her breathing hitched. As I turned to leave, a hoarse whisper slipped through, "Thank you." That afternoon, Lily reappeared with red-rimmed eyes but held my gaze during roll call. When she slid my annotated notes back after class, a single jasmine petal marked today's lesson, Emily's old secret signal for "I'm listening." Maybe some ghosts shouldn't be buried. Maybe Grace could coexist with Emily's shadow. As twilight gilded the classroom, I tapped Lily's desk. "The study link. Should I send it?" A beat passed. Then she angled her notebook toward me, covered in fresh annotations mirroring mine. "Already subscribed," she muttered. The corner of her mouth twitched. It wasn't quite a smile, but the ice had cracked. My hand paused mid-air with the chopsticks as I searched Grace's memories, confirming she'd never interacted with Lily Wilson before. Hesitantly, I asked, "Should I know her?" Lucy rolled her eyes dramatically. "God. You've turned into such a study zombie. Don't you remember all those kidnapping news reports last month?" I shoved rice into my mouth, mumbling vaguely. She glanced around like a conspirator before whispering, "This is just hearsay. Okay? People say she's cursed. Survived human trafficking only to have her sister die mysteriously. The Wilsons' business has been tanking ever since rumor says it's the dead sister's vengeful spirit causing family discord. They've been doing purification rituals non-stop for 5 years. Seems superstitious." I muttered, though Lily's recent transformation suddenly made sense. Our conversation shifted to other gossip, but my mind stayed elsewhere. Since Rebirth, I'd deliberately avoided digging into past information, leaving me unprepared for these urban legends. During our next study session, Lily shocked everyone by borrowing my notes. You never pay attention in class, you actually get this stuff? Lucy blurted. Lily shot her a venomous look. None of your damn business. November's early darkness found me rushing back for forgotten umbrella after exams. Freezing mid-retrieval at overheard confrontation on second floor. Lily's voice cut through the stairwell like winter wind. Want your skull cracked open too? A male voice sneered. Who's scared of you now? The Wilsons are practically bankrupt. Think Mr. Johnson will keep bailing you out? Everyone knows he hates your family. Try me. Her reply came with sharp slap. You don't get to say my sister's name. Rounding the corner, I found Lily slamming some guy against lockers. Lily. Teacher's looking for you. She released him with contempt. The bully wiped blood from lip, snarling this isn't over before fleeing. Meddlesome? Lily glared. I descended calmly. Class representatives gotta do their job. Outside, drizzling rain found us sharing my umbrella. My mom's dumpling stalls nearby. Helen makes best in town. To my surprise, she followed. Night market lights haloed Lily in gold warmth as Helen cheerfully took her order. No seafood, Lily specified, making me glance up sharply. She sat tracing condensation patterns, momentarily softer in the steam-filled glow. It reminded me of when I was little and took Lily to eat street food by our school. She used to love looking around like this, eyes sparkling with curiosity. But now, Lily only had emptiness and weariness in her gaze. When the dumplings were ready, I set the bowl before her and casually asked, Any seafood allergies? Lily kept stirring her dumplings, murmuring a quiet The faint jasmine scent clinging to her made me want to say more. But Helen ran out of white pepper just then. I went to the convenience store for more, only to return and find Lily gone. Helen pressed a 100-yuan bill into my hand, left by Lily. Return this tomorrow, she insisted. It's just dumplings. Tell her to come whenever she likes. No charge. I knew Lily wouldn't take it back. Money was the last thing she lacked. Folding the bill twice, I tucked it back into Helen's apron pocket. These dumplings matter. Grandma rolls every wrapper by hand. You make each one yourself. Besides, I added, if you don't charge my classmates, they'll feel awkward coming back. Keep it. I'll track the credit for her next visit. Helen finally relented, making me promise detailed accounting. Resuming her dumpling folding, she hummed cheerfully. I always worried you buried yourself in books too much at school. Didn't know you had so many friends. Bring them all for your birthday next month. We'll make a feast. I frowned. What friends? That classmate today said teachers and students adore you. Helen's eyes crinkled. Leading readings. Study methods. Everyone borrowing your notes. Wait till I tell Grandma. As Helen resumed her humming, I washed my hands under the icy faucet. Numbness spreading through me. Lily's vacant stare at the rickety table kept replaying. 5 years changed her. Yet somehow didn't. Before bed, I searched news about the infamous Wilson family kidnapping. The case had rocked the city, the Wilson empire's heir apparent taken. One daughter killed. Kidnappers suicide. Conspiracy theories flooded in, parents sacrificing a child. Stock prices crashing. Eventually, supernatural takes dominated, Lily's cursed fate killing her sister. I remembered the hallway whisper today, that Wilson girl's a murderer. My phone screen dimmed as childhood giggles overlapped with Lily's frosty mask. No survivors from that kidnapping, it seemed. When standardized test rankings came, our teacher beamed announcing my first place finish and upcoming flag ceremony speech. Grace had always been top 50. But my math-physics boost shot us both upward. The real shock was Lily's score. Skipping classes and homework, she still outranked Lucy by 30 slots. Near-perfect English essay made Lucy stomp, what cram school? Lily tossed her test in the desk. Copied answers. Lucy actually bought it. Glancing around before whispering, should you admit that? When Lucy turned to me, I marked errors on her math test. These all test the same concept. Handing her my homemade study guides, I explained. It's about connecting knowledge points. Lily suddenly leaned over. You learn this online too? The color-coded charts resembled those tucked in my old textbooks, books she might have flipped through. Some valedictorian's secret weapon. I shrugged. You've seen similar? Her lashes lowered. Valedictorian guides. I had one too. Your sister was the science champion. Right? Pride flickered through Lily's mask. My sister was extraordinary. You will be too. I said. Her face froze into familiar iciness. No. I won't. After my classmates found out I had organized study guides, they all rushed to borrow and pass them around. Eventually, the homeroom teacher took them to the office to print copies for everyone. Lucy asked if she could share them externally, mentioning her cousin had seen them and wanted a copy too, but wasn't sure if I minded others using them. Though slightly bemused. This gave me an idea. That night, I created an eBay account to sell my curated study guides and uploaded scanned copies of my recent standardized exam papers. Surprisingly, 3 copies sold within a day, after deducting printing and shipping costs. I netted $200. With the earnings, I bought Helen 2 new arm sleeves for her food cart work and a new lumbar cushion for Grandma. Helen was overjoyed with the sleeves but insisted I shouldn't worry about family finances, assuring me the dumpling stall could cover my college expenses without stress. I massaged her shoulders, explaining compiling notes required minimal effort, which finally eased her concerns. The next morning, Grandma cornered me, pressing a red bill into my hand while asking if I needed money. It took multiple reassurances to convince her I wasn't skipping meals. Stepping outside that day, even the winter breeze felt gentler, life held tangible promise now. As senior year's first semester neared its end with my grades consistently topping the class, I secretly planned winter break gigs to save for post-graduation travels with Helen and Grandma. During study hall, Lily mentioned the night market's impending closure for redevelopment. That evening, I noticed Helen's distracted demeanor. The vendor gossip network had clearly spread the news she tried shielding me from. Eavesdropping later, I heard Helen and Grandma debating relocation options. Our family's 3-generation dumpling cart had always operated without storefront rentals, enduring constant harassment until securing the night market spot years prior. Grabbing notepaper, I joined their bedroom discussion with a proposal: split rent with a morning bowsy vendor couple near school. My spreadsheet detailing shared utilities and $300 monthly rent, covered by my initial eBay earnings, left Helen stunned. You researched this? She blinked, casually asked while passing by. I shrugged. With winter break approaching, I'll take part-time work next month. Storefronts mean stability, no more weather hardships. I'll graduate soon anyway, student loans and work study can cover college. Stop hoarding savings for me. Grandma's eyes glistened. Our Grace has grown up. Helen's voice cracked. Didn't I tell you to focus on studies? Linking arms with her, I smiled. Mom, I'm grown now. You can lean on me too. Her palm warmed my back through the thin nightshirt. All right. I understand. In the amber glow of their curtained sleeping nook, this pocket of existence we called home, I reaffirmed that family bonds sweetened life's bitterest brews. After securing the shared storefront, business surprisingly thrived post-night market closure. For my birthday, Helen urged me to invite friends. Lucy eagerly agreed. But Lily deflected with vague prior commitments. Some friend? Lucy huffed after Lily's refusal. Birthdays are non-negotiable. Since when are we friends? Lily retorted stiffly. Lucy rolled her eyes. Your stubbornness could prop up collapsing skyscrapers. Before storming off to study, watching their dynamic amused me. Against expectations, Lucy had gradually chipped through Lily's frost, initially intimidated by rumors. She'd started mirroring my casual interactions until Lily began offering terse replies. Lucy later confided Lily wasn't the menacing figure gossip suggested, just prickly, cold-eyed, sarcastic, and antisocial, but decent. The turning point came when Lily hurled a water bottle at snickering boys during Lucy's menstrual cramps episode in PE class. Since then, Lucy had unilaterally declared them friends. There was never anything particularly monumental happening, just ordinary days filled with kind people. On my birthday, Lily didn't show up all day, which finally convinced Lucy that she'd genuinely been busy. It was around then that I suddenly remembered Emily and I shared the same birthday. I'd only been Grace for a little over 2 months. Yet those weeks seemed to have eclipsed Emily's 19 years of existence. The scars I'd once believed would haunt me forever had gradually scabbed over with time, fading into the past. Maybe it wasn't time that healed them, maybe it was love. After school, Lucy and I went to Helen's shop. Helen had reserved a table with a birthday cake waiting on it. I'd specifically told Helen not to buy a cake, so I initially thought she'd gone behind my back, until she brought out the wontons and side dishes, explaining the cake was from Lily. That classmate who came for wontons last time dropped it off. She said happy birthday. Helen added, "Tell her it's fine if she was busy yesterday. Next time she comes, remind me her friend doesn't eat seafood." Lucy snorted at the cake. "Told you she's all bark and no bite." I recognized the bakery's logo on the cake. It was the same place we'd always ordered from in the past. For one of Lily's birthdays, I'd even pulled strings to sneak into their kitchen and DIY a cake for her. It had been ages since I'd tasted their desserts. Before I could dwell on it, Lucy finished lighting the candles and nudged me to make a wish. Helen paused her work to join us, clapping along as they sang happy birthday. I closed my eyes and wished for the first time as Grace. The next morning, Lily was already in class when I arrived. I thanked her after settling into my seat. The cake was delicious. "Thanks." She turned her head away. "Just picked a random place. That bakery only took premium custom orders requiring at least 2 days' notice, meaning she'd booked it right after I invited her." I didn't call her out, only mentioning Helen wanted her to visit again. "You haven't been back since last time. Mom's worried her wontons didn't suit your taste." Lily glanced at me. "I'll go today." When she turned, I noticed a faint red mark on her cheek, like a scratch. Without thinking, I cupped her face. "What happened here?" She batted my hand away. "Nothing." She spent the entire day radiating tension, so even Lucy kept her distance. That evening after study hall, I took Lily to Helen's shop. Helen greeted her warmly. "Sit inside where it's warm." "Shepherd's purse wontons again. No seafood?" Lily froze briefly before nodding and slipping into the back booth. I left her alone until delivering her order, only to find her crying. "What's wrong?" She hastily covered her face with a napkin, taking minutes to compose herself. I sat across from her in silence. She stirred her wontons with a spoon, voice dripping with bitterness. "Your mom remembered my seafood allergy after one visit. It's not that hard to remember. Yesterday was my sister's birthday too. After she died, my parents treated the date like a curse. But this year, Mom suddenly decided to celebrate her life, cooked a feast where every main dish had seafood." Lily laughed harshly. "My sister was allergic." A stranger remembered in one meeting. My own mother never did. I didn't know how to respond. Lily wiped her tears. "You asked about my face. Last night, I smashed the dining table and kitchen. Got cut by porcelain shards." Her eyes reddened under my stunned gaze. "Sometimes I envy you. You have so little and so much. If my sister and I had been born into a normal family like yours, maybe things would have been different." Lily devoured her wontons, emptying a whole tissue pack before leaving with swollen eyes. I didn't know how to tell her I felt nothing hearing this, that being remembered or forgotten no longer mattered. At the intersection, she pulled up her hood. I stopped her before she could walk away. "Lily Wilson, let me tell you a secret. I'm not my mother's biological child." Lily turned to look at me, her dark eyes as cold as the winter night. "My grandmother was childless. She found my mother while selling dumplings at a roadside stall, a disheveled woman with mental confusion who couldn't remember her origins or family. Out of compassion, Grandma gave her clean clothes and free meals. In return, Mom helped clean tables and wash dishes at the stall. Eventually, Grandma took her in and they lived together. One night after closing, They found me by a trash can wrapped in thin blankets with a note saying unable to raise. Please adopt. They brought me home, fearing I'd freeze to death. Under Lily's astonished gaze, I continued calmly. Grandma wasn't always paralyzed. A brain tumor pressing on her nerves caused it. Mom's leg disability came later. She got hit by a car while fundraising for Grandma's surgery. The compensation money went to Grandma's operation, leaving Mom's injury untreated. See? Our lives aren't as smooth as they appear. Everyone has hidden struggles. Maybe turbulence is life's true nature, different pains for different people. No use envying others. Under the pale moonlight at the crossroads, our shadows intertwined. About your sister. I know it's heartbreaking, but I don't believe in superstitions. That accident wasn't your fault. You shouldn't carry all this guilt. Forgive me if this oversteps, but I think she'd be happy knowing you still remember her preferences after all these years. As long as you remember, she'll always be here. Lily wiped her face silently, eyes glistening. Before disappearing into the night, I gazed at the crescent moon, throat tightening. Had we been born into ordinary families, everything might have been different. After that night, Lily resumed her quiet demeanor yet showed subtle changes. When Jessica asked about English essays, she shared actual writing materials from her sister's notes. When I missed school with flu, she sent notes through Helen. She stopped objecting when Jessica included her in friend groups, small signs of moving forward. Our high school's winter break started a week before Lunar New Year. Unable to find steady work, I bought sparklers and handheld fireworks from Jessica's uncle's wholesale business, selling them at designated lakeside areas. I restocked twice before New Year's Eve. While heading to restock, I spotted Lily at a distant florist shop. "What brings you here?" I asked, surprised. "Fireworks wholesale." "You? Visiting Sophia?" Her calm reply stunned me. Sophia hated suburbs. Dread coiled in my stomach as Lily ordered Sophia's favorite lilies. Noticing my hesitation, she offered, "Need a ride? Your aunt lives here?" I barely managed. "Seaside Memorial Park," she murmured, cradling the bouquet. At the cemetery, a tall man in black suit with Buddhist beads stood by Sophia's grave. "Mr. Johnson," Lily greeted respectfully. Dan glanced at us briefly before bowing to the headstone and departing. The moment we brushed past each other, I caught the faint scent of sandalwood lingering around him. Memories flooded back of that figure I'd glimpsed at the temple. It had been him all along. Dan Johnson. 24 now. How long had it been? I stood frozen until Lily pressed a tissue into my hand. "Grace? What's wrong?" My fingers came away wet when I touched my face. Turning, I found the corridor empty. Just the wind, I mumbled, wiping my eyes. Kneeling before the granite marker, Lily carefully polished the photo with her handkerchief. The young woman smiled back at us, her wavy hair frozen in time, eyes sparkling like constellations. "Your aunt was so young," I managed, throat tight. "Was she ill?" "Car crash." Lily's shoulders tensed. "Same year my sister died." She'd been rushing back from overseas studies when, her voice fractured. They were practically mother and daughter. Each word pierced deeper than the last. I clenched my skirt until the fabric bit into my palms, vision blurring. The smiling photo seemed to whisper comfort as it always had, as if any moment she might speak. "Aunt. Mom." The drive back passed in heavy silence. As we exited the cemetery gates, Lily finally asked, "Why were you crying? Did you know her?" "Not really." The lie tasted bitter. Just felt overwhelming sadness there. I couldn't tell Lily I was Emily Reborn. Couldn't fabricate stories either. "Maybe it's fate." Lily studied me curiously. "You remind me of her sometimes, not in looks, but like she's seeing the world through your eyes. She'd have been glad you came today." Winter melted into the final semester frenzy. Helen insisted I go straight home after study hall, but I bargained for extra library hours before meeting her at the diner. My study partner Jessica lived across from campus, often staying late with me. Lily's absences grew frequent, sometimes only attending once weekly. When our homeroom teacher asked me to deliver missed assignments, I planned to visit with Jessica that weekend. But her sprained ankle left me standing alone outside the Wilson estate gates. A black sedan glided to a halt beside me. The window descended, revealing Dan's impassive profile. "Mr. Johnson," I stammered. "Lily hasn't been to school." "Get in." Sandalwood incense soothed the car's tension. Dan leaned back with closed eyes as we drove, his prayer beads glinting faintly through the tunnel's flickering lights. His reflection showed sharper angles than 5 years prior, the boy I'd known now radiating boardroom authority tempered by spiritual calm. 24-year-old Dan Johnson. 18-year-old Grace Brown. Different galaxies. He left me at the mountain temple where Helen had once brought me. Instead of quiet courtyards, incense swirled around bustling devotees. A young monk guided me to Lily copying scriptures in a back room. "You came?" She set down her brush, surprise softening her features. Beyond the rice paper windows, temple bells chimed as afternoon shadows lengthened across our silent understanding. Lily Wilson set down her pen and rose from the daybed. I pulled notes and test papers from my backpack. "The teacher asked me to deliver these to your home." I ran into Dan on the way, and he gave me a ride. Lily nodded, resuming her scripture copying at the low table. "Why aren't you in school today?" She didn't look up until completing the final line, carefully placing the ink-damp parchment aside to dry. "My parents want to emigrate. I don't want them finding me here." I hesitated. "You're not going with them?" Spring air rippled through open windows, rustling rice paper like whispered secrets. Lily shook her head. "My sister's in Riverdale. I'm not leaving." For 30 consecutive days, Lily missed classes. Every Saturday I rode 2 buses to deliver school materials. Grace accompanied me once but hated the mountain hike, so I went alone afterward. During a rainy visit, the temple's usual murmur faded to monastic silence. Passing a side courtyard, I spotted Dan beneath the phoenix tree. Gone was his business attire, today's charcoal gray sweater and jeans made him look like part of the mist-shrouded landscape, his silhouette blending into the hillside with palpable loneliness. I averted my gaze, continuing to the back halls. "Next time it rains, stay home," Lily chided, toweling my damp jacket. "These mountain paths turn treacherous." "Good exercise after sitting all week." I shrugged. She reclined with a book while I half-heartedly dried my clothes. "I saw Dan earlier." "Does he often visit?" "Every month. Copies scriptures. Keeps my sister company." My hands stilled on the towel. Lily's gaze drifted through the rain-streaked window. "Her ashes rest under that phoenix tree." From Lily's fragmented accounts, I learned 5 years hadn't released Dan from his self-imposed prison of grief. He moved through the world like a man serving a life sentence. Returning through the courtyard, I found only wind-tossed red ribbons clinging to rain-slick branches, votive offerings fluttering like trapped memories. They reminded me of Dan himself, forever anchored to this place by love's unbreakable chains. The bus ride home plunged me into memories of that winter break. Dan had made hot pot, steam fogging his glasses as he slid his apartment key across the table. "Come anytime it gets too heavy at home." He hadn't needed to return to Riverdale for the holidays. His grandparents waited in Seaside City. Yet he'd chosen to accompany me, right up to the airport departure gate. Through the crowd's chaos, his arms encircled me. "Happy New Year, Emily. I'll be back in a week." His eyes burned with unspoken words, heartbeat thundering against mine. "Wait for me." Those became his last words to me. No goodbye. No closure. Just police lights flashing through our apartment window 5 days later. I'd assumed time would loosen grief's grip. Yet here Dan remained, frozen in devotion. 5 years later, someone still loved my ghost with their entire being. The realization left me suspended between sorrow and gratitude. When Lily returned to school weeks later, she seemed lighter despite her family's absence. Every evening, she and Grace stayed late to study with me. Helen always saved 3 wonton soups at the diner, boiling them fresh when we arrived. As college entrance exams loomed, our world narrowed to textbooks and practice tests. Then came the frantic knock during night study hall. Grandma had collapsed. I sprinted through rain-slick streets to find Helen still wearing her apron in the surgical waiting room. "Mom? What did the doctors say?" When I arrived, Helen gripped my hand, trembling uncontrollably before finally breaking into sobs. The doctor explained Grandma had right cerebral hemorrhage requiring emergency surgery, urging us to pay immediately. Helen's gentle nature left her paralyzed by the crisis. As I considered rushing home for my bank card, Lily approached and handed me her card. "Use this first." I didn't know when she'd arrived. Staring at the card in stunned silence, Lily misinterpreted my hesitation and thrust it into my palm. "Not everyone gets this chance to save family with money. I've got more than enough, you can repay me whenever." She left before I could respond. With no time to debate, I paid the fees. The surgery succeeded. Doctors said the bleeding occurred precisely where previous nerve compression happened, suggesting Grandma's paralysis might improve with rehabilitation if recovery went well. A silver lining amidst chaos. During Grandma's hospitalization, our dumpling shop closed temporarily. Helen stayed at the hospital full-time while I visited every other day. When Lucy learned about my situation, she started bringing homemade meals daily under the pretense of leftovers. I recognized her effort to preserve my dignity, accepting the kindness while tutoring her in return. On college entrance exam day, sunlight glinted sharply through the leaves. Sitting alone on a campus bench afterward, surrealism washed over me. Nearly a year had passed since becoming Grace, reliving senior year classes, watching time slip through ink-stained pages. New family, new friends, an entirely rewritten life. I'd once believed blood ties outweighed all bonds. Now I understood true connection grows from mutual sincerity. After exams, I bought white lilies and visited the seaside cemetery alone. Breezes carried salt air as I knelt before Sophia's grave, updating her about my life with quiet assurance. Lily left River City for graduation travels. Occasionally Lucy and I received postcards bearing 2 signatures. She now carried 2 souls wherever she wandered. Lucy moonlighted as her brother's English tutor, entertaining me with hours of comedic venting about teenage boys. When scores released, I unexpectedly became River City's top STEM graduate again. Helen cried happy tears, insisting we visit temples for gratitude offerings. But beneath the phoenix trees, no mysterious figure waited this time. Grandma's rehabilitation progressed well, though movement remained laborious. She could now stand briefly. Life unfolded steadily. For summer work, I took a bilingual position at a book cafe. My first shift glowed with afternoon light as I fumbled with the espresso machine. Wind chimes announced the inaugural customer, a tall man in crisp white shirt tucked into dress pants. Sleeves rolled to reveal Buddhist prayer beads. Setting down my tools, I smiled. "Welcome." Epilogue, Lily's perspective. I'm Lily. At 12, my sister Emily and I were kidnapped. The ransom demanded our parents choose one child to live. I became the lucky survivor. The kidnappers kept their word. They slit Emily's throat before me. She collapsed in that bloodied alley, mouthing silent words through crimson bubbles. The horrific familiarity shattered my mental barriers. Memories from when I was 7 flooded back. Another kidnapping. Another time Emily shielded me with her body, absorbing brutal kicks until they dumped her limp form like discarded rags. Countless nights I've wondered, why must my survival always cost Emily's life? What made me worthy? Our brief shared years brought her no joy, only suffering stemming from my existence. Since birth, I'd unwittingly stolen everything meant for her: parental love, childhood companionship, carefree moments she never experienced. People like me have a title, beneficiaries of privilege. We inherit undeserved advantages yet have no right to resent the system that enriched us. I loathe being the survivor, yet can't blame my parents' choice. The weight of 2 lives presses on my passport stamps now. Every postcard I send bears both our names, Emily and Lily, twin spirits wandering the world we should have explored together. I understood Lily's hardships, yet could never truly comprehend the depth of her suffering. After much reflection, I realized I was the original sin. Had I never been born, Lily's childhood in the Wilson household might have been entirely different. If I hadn't insisted on setting off fireworks that fateful night, we wouldn't have been kidnapped, and she wouldn't have endured the consequences of my abduction. Perhaps if I'd remained lost, time might have eventually healed the rift between her and our parents. But life offers no rewrites. The memory remains scorched in my mind, Lily's body cooling on the pavement. My hands stained crimson as I crawled toward her. No amount of scrubbing could cleanse that visceral reminder of how my existence had been drenched in her blood. Even the release of death eludes me. This guilt my eternal shackle. After Lily's death, Mother's mind began unraveling. She'd oscillate between hysterical laughter and anguished weeping, sometimes mistaking me for her lost daughter as she knelt begging forgiveness. Father aged decades overnight. His once sharp eyes now clouded as he mechanically maintained the Wilson family business. Our home still stands, but its soul perished with Lily. Adults fascinate me with their belated remorse. What purpose does regret serve when the departed can't witness it? I observe their suffering with detached curiosity. Forever estranged from both my parents and myself, I've become Lily's living archive. Her preference for jasmine-scented body wash, mint green sweaters, and street food over fine dining. The way she'd laugh through romantic comedies but shy from cameras. The textbooks and novels she annotated now bear my fingerprints from constant re-reading. While others heal with time, I wear my grief like a hairshirt penance for surviving. Dan Johnson shares this eternal vigil. I later learned he'd been kidnapped with us, the sole escapee through Lily's sacrifice. During her darkest hours, he became her unexpected anchor. After her death, Dan vanished overseas, returning transformed into the unapproachable CEO of Johnson Enterprises. When Wilson Holdings teetered near collapse, I watched Father humiliate himself at a business dinner, drinking until his ulcer hemorrhaged. Dan sat enthroned at the head table, idly spinning Buddhist prayer beads. Mr. Wilson, his voice glacial steel, have you ever known true despair? The kind where your own parents condemn you to die? His amber eyes glinted. All those memorial rituals, were they to ease her restless spirit? Or your guilty consciences? The business vultures circled, but Dan unexpectedly threw us a lifeline. His sole condition being our parents' eternal banishment from Lily's resting place. He'd interred her ashes beneath a sycamore at the monastery where daily sutras chant through rustling leaves. Monthly he retreats there, fasting and transcribing scriptures to secure Lily's peaceful reincarnation. I've seen Dan in those sacred grounds, the way his stern features soften like April rain when standing beneath that tree. The world sees an ascetic tycoon, but I recognize the man forever anchored to my sister's memory. 5 years drifted by until high school senior year, when some boys' rejected crush turned vindictive. Let them spread their rumors about the ice princess. But when he shattered the clay pendant Lily made during our pottery class, the last tangible connection after Father purged her belongings, something snapped. They found him unconscious in a pool of blood. Me calmly awaiting police in the wrecked classroom. What's one more scarlet stain to carry? My hands were already dyed long ago. Given the Wilson family's current status, they couldn't save me. Yet I felt no panic. To me, death and life were merely the difference between closing and opening one's eyes. What surprised me was Dan coming to retrieve me. He stood holding an umbrella in the rain, his silhouette framed against endless darkness as he spoke softly with a voice dampened by the downpour. Let's go home. With Dan's intervention, the situation was swiftly resolved. After a week's rest at home, he informed us about holding a final memorial service for Emily. The abbot required family members to hold red cloth during the ritual, which allowed my parents to attend. That day in the mountains, Dan told me he'd arranged my school transfer, though I'd anticipated this outcome. Hearing confirmation of my parents' choice still unleashed overwhelming grief. You're Emily's only remaining family, he said, and suddenly exhaustion washed over me. Why was I still receiving privileges tied to my sister 5 years after her death? What kind of wretched person did that make me? No answers came. People say the dead visit in dreams. Yet Emily never appeared in mine, leaving me with nowhere to seek closure. After transferring schools, I expected to resume my stagnant existence. Instead, I met someone who mirrored Emily's essence, her speech patterns, mannerisms, gaze, even her aura. Sometimes I'd hallucinate she was Emily reborn or possessed by her spirit, though I knew such delusions were impossible. The dead don't resurrect. Still, I gravitated toward her irresistibly. In her presence, memories of Emily surfaced involuntarily, and I'd find myself confiding thoughts I'd never shared with anyone else, certain she'd listen, comprehend, and respond. Once I asked, "Do you believe the departed can return?" She continued solving equations on her notepad. "I believe the living must carry two lives forward." A breeze stirred her hair as she tucked a strand behind her ear, releasing faint jasmine fragrance. When she glanced up with that dimpled smile, her eyes held gentle warmth like spring zephyrs. In that moment, my breath caught, never imagining I'd regain substance through a stranger's gaze that mirrored yet differed from Emily's. Perhaps Emily's spirit had redeemed me again. As long as I lived, I'd remain under her radiant influence. That star-called sister would never fade. For the first time, I genuinely wanted to embrace life. Years later, I dreamt again of the kidnapping night, Emily collapsing in blood, tearful eyes meeting mine, lips moving soundlessly. "Sister, what final words lingered on your dying breath?" I'm certain they held no resentment or blame.